Another big blow to President Trump's efforts to overturn the election, this time all the way at the top in the United States Supreme Court. The High Court yesterday declined to take up a Republican congressman's request to nullify the certification of Joe Biden's win in Pennsylvania. The lawsuit claimed the state legislature violated Pennsylvania's constitution when it passed a law last year allowing no excuse voting by mail. The state Supreme Court already had rejected the claim, ruling the plaintiffs waited too long to challenge the law, which was enacted more than a year ago. The U.S. Supreme Court did not explain why it was rejecting the claim, issuing a one-sentence order that the application was denied with no noted dissents. Here's what President Trump said about his election challenges earlier in the day at that vaccine summit.
Let's see whether or not somebody has the courage, whether it's a legislator or legislatures, or whether it's a justice of the Supreme Court or a number of justices of the Supreme Court. Let's see if they have the courage to do what everybody in this country knows is right.
Jonathan Lemire, the Supreme Court's reply to that was a one-sentence rejection of that. In the order, let's go through the list of appointees made by President Trump who were confirmed. Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and, of course, Amy Coney Barrett. Justice Barrett, most recently, of course, in October, was confirmed. There were no noted dissents, which means it was effectively a 9-0 decision here. President Trump has a very different understanding of what it means to be on the Supreme Court than do the justices. He expected some payback for their appointments. Yesterday, they said that's not how it works.
The president was not shy in the months running up to the election that he anticipated that the outcome would be determined in the Supreme Court, and that he thought that he would win for exactly that reason, that the conservatives have a majority and that he appointed 3 justices to the highest bench in the land, including Amy Coney Barrett, which a nomination that was rushed through, and she took her seat on the bench just weeks before Americans went to the polls on November 3rd. That is, of course, not what happened yesterday. Despite the president's remarks at that Operation Warp Speed event at the White House, despite the president in the afternoon tweeting out a number of memes about the justices, including Amy Coney Barrett, despite that his allies had signaled just yesterday afternoon that they were feeling confident that they were going to get some wins now that these cases were going to the Supreme Court. And of course, none of that happened. And this was a huge setback to an already doomed effort. None of these challenges have really amounted to much of anything for the president and his team. As noted, most of his legal team right now is sidelined with COVID-19. These are increasing long shots. They're taking defeats in state after state after state. The only surprise yesterday, frankly, was that the president remained silent after the Supreme Court's decision. We all were watching his Twitter account for angry outbursts at the Supreme Court, and perhaps in particular, the 3 justices he appointed. We know that in the past, he has been very angry when a Kavanaugh or Gorsuch, let's say, ruled in a way he didn't like, thinking that they were insufficiently loyal. That hasn't happened yet. It's only a matter of time. The White House and the president and his allies are signaling that these legal challenges will continue. We, of course, have the Electoral College meeting soon. We have the state's Congress certifying the election in early January. There will be outbursts and temper tantrums thrown between now and then, but that's not going to change the outcome of the race. Joe Biden will take the oath of office on January 20th.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.